tempered losses though at the close, but still ended the session lower by 0.6% to 6,720. The dip comes as partial unofficial results of the elections show Bongbong Marcos poised to become the country's next president.
React din yung market siguro. We know that the market actually prefers Leni Robredo. That's pretty obvious na lumabas na yun sa ibang surveys market. But otherwise yung lumabas, iba yung lumabas.
Economists and analysts, however, say investors may also be reacting based on offshore events, particularly on the ongoing tension in Ukraine as well as pandemic concerns. The impact of the elections have yet to be felt fully once the new leaders are proclaimed.
It is a market driver. Is it peaceful? Is the transition smooth? So far, that's the case. Second, who are going to be the people who are going to fill his cabinet position? So I think they're going to be evaluating that. And of course, how fast he's going to fill the position. And then I think finally, they're going to evaluate the first 100 days. And alongside with that is the SONA.
But some members of the private sector said they have yet to see a clear-cut economic policy from Marcos Jr.
To be very frank about it, it's not yet clear yet. But we have to give the, as I said, the new administration time. They will draw up ang mga plano nila at saka mga timeline.
Barcelona adds they're willing to work with whoever wins the elections, noting that the incoming leaders will face challenges, including the pandemic and price pressures due to the impact of geopolitical tensions. For now, Barcelona is banking on strong macroeconomic fundamentals and economic reforms laid down by the current administration to sustain economic gains. Shaila Francisco, We Are One News.
And to answer some of those concerns from the business community, Marcos Jr. himself outlined his economic agenda on 1PH's Candidatox. The details in this report by Cheryl Cosim.
With an imminent Marcos presidency in the offing, what economic policies can the country expect under the leadership of Ferdinand Marcos Jr.? In his interview in 1PH Candidatox, Marcos Jr. laid down some of his platforms for the country. This includes looking into the vetoed bill against labor contractualization or ENDO.
Kung sakali man makaupo ko, ay babalikan natin, titingnan natin para ayusin natin. Para tama nga naman na it applies only to those businesses that are not seasonal.
In order to bolster economic recovery, he said that he'll focus on small businesses by providing tax amnesty to those affected by the health crisis.
Pagka gusto natin silang pahulin ulit, sabihin natin wag muna tayo magkolekta ng buwis hanggang medyo makaahon sila.
Marcos Jr. also said that instead of lockdowns, he'll make a continuous push for vaccination in a program he calls Jabs to Jobs.
Talagang pursige tayo sa vaccine. At nakikita naman natin talagang magandang naging epekto mula nung nagsimula ang vaccine rollout.
But when it comes to economic recovery, it matters that the business and investment community trusts a country's leader. That's going to be a tall task for Marcos Jr. In a Bloomberg's market poll, Philippine investors are lukewarm to the prospect of Marcos as president. In fact, Marcos Jr. was at the bottom of the poll. But Marcos Jr. is taking the challenge.
One News Now will be back with more stories after this short break. Stay with us. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. The Health Department flagged protocol violations on Election Day, which could affect the COVID-19 trends in the country in 2 weeks. JC Cosico with the report.
At least 31 voters were sent home for isolation after experiencing COVID-19 symptoms on Election Day. The Health Department said they were referred to local health centers for further evaluation.
Wala naman po tayong nakita na may severe, for example, na mga simptomas na nagpunta talaga doon.
They are among the 644 people who had health issues in polling centers. 57 were sent to hospitals.
May pagtaas ng presyon, maaring dulot ng init, maaring dulot dun sa marami kasing tao, so medyo nagkaroon po sila ng ganitong mga simptomas. And then the rest ay mga minor lang naman po ang naitala.
Protocol violations such as lack of physical distancing were observed in some voting centers. With this, the DOH once again warned of a spike in COVID-19 cases by EDMA if health violations persist. Authorities said the effect of poll day activities in the number of infections may be seen in 2 weeks.
We know that the incubation period of the virus is 14 days, but we know that also because of these variants, it may be shorter than 14 days.
The public is reminded anew to wear face masks properly and self-monitor for COVID-19 symptoms. Meanwhile, over 7,400 were jabbed in 333 temporary COVID-19 vaccination sites set up in polling venues. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
And one infectious diseases expert also believes that we will see a post-election COVID-19 surge by next week. According to Dr. Ronjean Solante, super spreader events leading up to the polls will be the cause of the surge in COVID-19 infections. Also, according to Solante, they have received reports of health protocols being disregarded on Election Day.
Sa dami ng mga super spreader event na nangyayari for the past 2 weeks at meron pa rin community transmission ng Omicron variant na napakataas ang hawaan. So expected yan na meron talagang uptick ng mga cases.
For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Masks on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I am Sean Yao. We are One News.